Blast through vaguely evil enemies on a relentless path in the cardinal directions in Thunderflash. Is stepping on landmines funnier with a friend? Thunderflash isn't exactly flashy, but it's definitely reminiscent of older arcade games. It's not particularly ugly, but it's not very detailed either. The look doesn't lend itself well to making the levels stand out, and most of the levels blend together as a result. Perhaps the blandness of the basic top-down levels makes the more unique levels stand out a bit more.
Thunderflash is a military-themed arcade-style run-and-gun. The view is generally top-down, but occasionally switches to side-scrolling, depending on the gimmick of a particular level. You'll move in one of 4 directions, dodging bullets, knives, and grenades, while shooting any enemies that come on screen. It's a really simple game from start to finish, with only minor deviations from the repetition of the basic gameplay. The moments that stood out the most were levels focused on navigating traps in the admittedly oversimplified vehicle sections. Oddly, some of the most enjoyable parts were the simplest, like a linear stroll across a bridge that was so narrow that we killed almost every enemy before they could even come on screen, and a slow climb up a ladder that felt like one of the only moments where the strategy was changed up in the game. These moments were more comical than challenging, and that's really what made them fun to play through. Though most stages were similar enough to blend together, there was a good variety in the stages that stood out. Even boss fights did little to vary the gameplay. Most were stationary and simply required us to dodge projectiles and shoot in one direction until the fight was over, although this water serpent had a knack for sniping us with fireballs even while we moved around.
True to the arcade inspiration, you begin the game with a number of credits. You have no way of adding credits like putting quarters into a machine, but Thunderflash mitigates this limitation in 2 ways. After using all your credits once, you unlock the ability to start with slightly more the next time you play, up to a total of 20. If you don't want to start from the beginning, you can continue with full credits from the level you died using the level select. Supposedly, you can open up a couple more levels if you can play through the game from start to finish with the credits provided. To add a bit to the fun, there are a small number of alternate weapons occasionally hidden in crates throughout the levels. These temporarily replace your main weapon and have limited ammo. We only found 3 different weapons while playing: a spread shot, a rapid-fire machine gun, and a flamethrower, which was the most fun to use.
People who are good at the game or enjoy the work of getting better to unlock secrets might get a couple more levels and endings, but you should know going in that this game is short and shallow. Beyond the campaign, there's a survival mode and a boss rush mode to add a few minutes of fun. Survival mode is a neat experience with robots that are a bit harder to kill than the normal enemies in the game, and a regular, random drop of previously mentioned alternate weapons. There's only one stage to the mode as far as I could see, so there's not much reason to play it again after seeing it once. Thunderflash, like minigames in this style, features a pair of heroes in the imagery, story, and gameplay, boding well for the co-op intention in the game's design. Players share the same screen, neither player is prioritized, and there's no friendly fire. One thing that makes it a bit different is the live system. Whereas most games of this type have a separate pool of lives for each player, here both players share the same lives. With limited lives, we found this system of sharing made the game more accessible, as a player that tends to die more often won't be eliminated from the game, unless the whole pool is exhausted. But, combined with the ability to select a mission to start from with full lives, the same effect would be achieved if the game did away with lives entirely, or allowed you to continue manually after death, like an arcade game.
Twice the guns means twice the bullets flying, so we imagine some stages are made easier in co-op. There's an annoying tug-of-war problem where the screen is quick to move backward if the players begin to separate, which leads to situations where progress is slowed down while fighting mini-bosses that block the way forward. Since the game will throw enemies at you from both directions, it can take a while to defeat what's in front of you when you have to address what's behind you. Thunderflash's story is limited to a few lines of text at the beginning and the end. There's no real context to most of the action, and no build-up to explain the bosses. In other words, Thunderflash doesn't do anything to set itself apart from the majority of arcade games.
We didn't experience any technical issues that wouldn't be expected of a game from the time period that this game attempts to emulate. You can expect flickering enemies, especially on the edges of the screen, and oddly large hitboxes, but nothing slowed the game down, and we didn't experience any crashes in the hour of total playtime. Thunderflash is a short and sweet retro gaming experience. It's not particularly special by any measure, but its short length ensures it doesn't outstay its welcome, and it never stops being fun. you're likely to finish the game in a single sitting, but the ability to continue from any stage makes it great for even shorter time commitments. Combined with a life-sharing system that keeps both players in the action, the game works well for co-op, with players of any experience level. This is not the game for anyone looking for longevity, but if you're okay with something shorter than a movie, at a relatively low price point, this is one we'd recommend.